Welcome to Rom-Com Vom, a Sex Ed with DB podcast series where in every episode we go under the covers with a beloved rom-com, strip away its hidden toxic messages, and rewrite the script on love and sex. But today, we're celebrating a film that's pushing the genre forward. Let's talk about a lube I absolutely love, Uberlube. Uberlube makes sex better for everyone by reducing friction and increasing pleasure. Whether you're using it for solo sex, sex with a partner, or both, Uberlube has a long-lasting performance that lets skin feel skin. It has simple, body, and condom-friendly ingredients, is scent and color-free, dissipates when no longer needed so there's no sticky residue, and is recommended by leading doctors. Use code SEXEDWITHDB for 10% off at uberlube.com. Valentine's Day is around the corner, and you haven't shopped for your boo yet. I'd love to introduce you to Aria, a service for couples that makes it easy to break out of routine, deepen emotional connection, and energize their relationship with curated experiences called scenes. And let me tell you, they are hot as hell. Woo! Plus, hand-picked premium items delivered discreetly to your door. If you want to gift your boo something that's actually a secret gift to yourself, get a Valentine's Day gift card to Aria at arya.fyi and use code SEXEDWITHDB for 15% off now. In a world that constantly encourages you to change, it's bold to just be yourself. Sexual expression and satisfaction are different for everybody, so rather than conforming to others, focus on falling in love with who you are. Lion's Den sources the very best products to help you find what you like and to help you feel confident expressing your sexual desires. You can get 15% off in-store and online using code SEXEDWITHDB at lionsden.com to begin exploring everything about yourself. Follow them on social at Lions Den Adult on Instagram and TikTok. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of Rom-Com Vom. I am your host, DB, a sex educator, pleasure expert, and rom-com critic and lover. But today we have a special episode because we're not revisiting a rom-com classic, but we're celebrating a brand new one that's making history in real time. We're talking about Good Bad Things, a film that's making waves for its fresh storytelling, authentic disability representation, and real lived-in romance. And joining us today are Steve Way and Danny Kurtzman, the brilliant minds behind the film. Danny stars in, co-wrote, and produced Good Bad Things alongside his childhood friend and director, Shane D. Stanger, and Steve, who you may know from the incredible show Rami, and his previous 2 appearances on Sex Ed with DB, is the film's executive producer. We cannot wait to dive into this amazing film and what it means for the future of rom-coms. Steve and Danny, welcome to Rom-Com Vom. How are you doing today?
Hey, we're so stoked to be here. Thanks for having us.
Of course. When Steve reached out, it was kismet because I was literally thinking, like, I got to get back in touch with that guy because I've been talking to you, Steve, over the past few months, year now, about all the amazing projects that you've been doing. And this is one of them. And it was kind of like minds melding. You were like, hey, heard you're doing this rom-com vom thing. I'm the executive producer of this amazing new rom-com. So it was really a perfect synergy, as the tech people say.
It was destiny.
Destiny. Absolutely. Well, I'm really, really glad that you guys are here. And, rom-coms, as we know, have given us kind of every kind of love story except for this one, I think, personally. After watching so many of these rom-coms for this series, I can say this is a very, very unique film. And so I would love for you to share, what is this film about for folks who haven't heard about it yet?
Honestly, this movie just came together with all the types of love you can think of. It was very authentically orchestrated and developed. This is my first time acting, so my best friend of since 6th grade, Shane D. Stanger, was going to USC's START program and just hit me up and said, do you want to do a feature? Do you want to write a movie? Do you want to star in it? And I was like, I don't know what any of those mean, but let's do it. And lo and behold, it just turned into this beautiful love story. And there's just so many layers of it that we're most likely going to dive into this podcast. But the one that I kind of point out to be the biggest thing is that it's a love story of yourself. Uh,
Mm,
it's that we as individuals, able-bodied or disabled, um, are in the driver's seat. We do have the power to write our own stories, and most of the time in our love relationships, we are the ones who get in our own ways. You know, it's usually us, and that usually we have to deep dive, discover what's really going on, and navigate yourself to what really feels like the truth and what feels like your true love and happiness. So, yeah, that's kind of my take on the movie.
quite deep from the get. I just want to say, Danny, which I'm into. I love it. As you know, yeah, this is a podcast where we go there pretty quickly, and so I'm glad that you did. What about you, Steve? Like, what was kind of like your moment where you kind of got involved in this project, and how did you kind of have influence over like what these themes looked like and how the story unfolded?
Danny reached out to me 2 summers ago. Uh, he would kind of DM me on Instagram. He would react to my stories, a lot of fire emojis,
Of course.
trying to get my attention. And then one day he was like, "Hey, I made this movie, and we're looking for an EP. Would you wanna just have a Zoom and talk?" So I watched it, and right away I felt attacked for the theme of self-sabotage, because I have done that more times than I like to admit.
Hmm.
But right away, I felt the potential that it had, because it was so authentic, right? Danny's the main character. Danny has a disability, and the movie's not about that. It's just this guy who falls in love. And what I love so much about the movie is that you don't have to be disabled to understand it or relate to it. So I was hooked. Uh, I wanted to be a part of it right away.
From the get.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As soon as I watched it, I knew I had to be a part of it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm sure there's been so much that has gone on between the filming of the conception of this movie to the filming to the waiting. I'm sure the waiting for people to see it is probably the hardest part. Like maybe you have to forget about it for a little while and then all of a sudden it like kind of comes back, but I'm sure it's been on your mind, both of you, for a very long time now.
It definitely has, and I think I left out the biggest love story, which is Steve just like softballed this whole him coming on board. But like the whole reason I thought I could actually do this movie was the fact that I saw Steve on Rami and didn't know him. We didn't know each other. Like I said, we just had called a Hail Mary. I threw a Hail Mary DM to Steve, praying and like hoping he would look at it and respond. But like, how many times have we just thrown out DMs to people who have that blue check, who have been in the TV show or movie, that you're just like, please say hi. And
Right. I'm
really,
begging you.
couple days later, I'm on a Zoom with Steve Way, and I'm just like, starstruck and just kind of just feeling all the feels. And like Steve said, a year and a half later, we have a movie on TVOD. But not only that, we have a beautiful friendship that is just so deep of love that him and I have been able to build over the last year and a half because of this movie and because of what it means. And so that's like, the movie just keeps generating all that in so many ways. And you got two of them on here. Is what that represents.
Totally. Love it. I love this so much. Would you say that, like, Steve, you kind of mentioned like this is kind of about somebody who has a disability, but it's not like the central part of the film, right? Like, would you describe this film as kind of like a slice of life movie about like love, work, dating, and the complexities of life? Is that kind of how would you describe like what this film is about?
Yeah, it's all of that. It's just told through the lens of someone who's disabled. And that's never been done before. It's not inspiration porn. It's not pity. Uh, it's not about a disabled guy who wants to lose his virginity. You know, he just wants to live his life. He's a small business owner. You know, he has friends. And then randomly falls in love with this girl. And again, I'm sure we've all been there. But it shows the complexities and the nuances that come with that when you have a severe disability. And, you know, the words muscular dystrophy are never said in the movie.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, it's not relevant. Right? What's in any rom-com? The guy's got something wrong with him. Right? You know, he's a fuck up. He's a loser. But here, the woman does not try to save him. She loves him for him. And that's how it goes. Right? We've always seen those stupid disabled Hollywood tropes. You know, the poor disabled guy. He can't find love. So, yeah, Danny and Shane really did a great job of just subverting all of that.
Exactly. The whole like tropes thing is actually where I wanted to get into next, because like, you know, in this podcast especially, we talk about the importance of not falling into these like cliches or inspiration tropes, especially when it comes to centering disabled characters, and especially like a lead in a love story, right? Like this is a very rare kind of piece that does that, right? And I think that, I guess, Danny, like this film kind of pulls from your real life in a lot of ways. And I'm curious, like, what parts of your experience do you feel like have shaped the story the most? And what was the process of like writing for this character versus like your own life? And yeah, where are the similarities here?
Yeah, that's like, seemed like touched upon the authenticity of this film. When Shane first hit me up, I honestly didn't. I had no idea what I was doing, and so what the only thing you can do in those moments of inexperience is just lean into what you know best and what your experiences are in your life. So I I could I could confidently say that a majority of this movie had moments of pulling from my real life. It's things that Shane and I have gone through. The Jason character is just Shane and all my other best friends that we've seen throughout the years. All the love stuff, even going down to, spoiler alert, the photo shoots and things like that. Those are all real moments like that we dealt with. Dating app being a big theme in this movie as well, and just my personal experience on the dating apps and what that feels like as a disabled person. And this is not something I even like had the conversation with someone like Steve before, because I up until this movie I didn't have the deep connection that I do to this community now, which has been my biggest gratitude for this film, is just the introduction and just how much many connections I've had and have now in this community. But I didn't get to have those conversations. So when I was like back before this movie, signing up for all the dates at Bumble, Tinder, name it, every single one, I'd be go creating my profile and being like, do I say it? Do I not? Like, do I show my chair? Do I not? Like, if they see it, are they going to swipe left? If they don't see it, will they maybe swipe right? And then at least I can then get into the communication and dialogue about it. So, like, that has gone through my mind. That was my experience. And then thankfully, it's kind of a majority of everyone's experience with a disability, or honestly, everyone's experience on a dating app, is like, how do we present ourselves in a likable fashion so that we get more swipe rights than swipe lefts? And it's just the way our society goes right now, which is not ideal. And specifically for disabled people, it's very not ideal because most of the dating apps are ableist to the moon. Like, we don't even know what the algorithm does in the back end for us, but just, you know, potential suitor facing, you are at a disadvantage immediately with the disability. So just like all that stuff, only thing that wasn't was the ending. And we could go into that later, but that's the only thing that isn't reality right now. I haven't experienced that, of course. I'm still single, doing my thing, and I'm looking for that person in my life.
Yeah.
But everything else was just what Shane and I have done, what we lived through, and that's kind of why it's come out so real and authentic. Is because there's no questioning it. We didn't just like sit back and try to imagine what could possibly be.
Yeah, totally. I'm also thinking through like, the initial light bulb for Shane in thinking of like, Shane came to you, right? And was like, I have this idea, I want you to be in it. Was Shane kind of basing this whole idea off of your two experiences and like why now? Like why tell this story now? Why did it feel like a relevant time to do this?
He was at film school, so that was a relevant thing. A little bit small backstory. A couple months before he approached me with a feature, he had to do a short film for the Start program, and so we did like it was like a 1-2 day quick shoot. I didn't have much lines. I was basically naked in bed the whole entire time, and when he showed it to his classmates at the Start program, he just kind of felt that the audience really gravitated towards me and was really curious and wanted more. And thankfully, I have a best friend that just also thinks my experience on this planet is a story that should be shared and told, and that is quite unique and and honestly, we all as disabled people go through a lot, but we know that we can't do it alone, and we have to ask for help, and that a lot of the things that we experience and that the best moments of our lives is usually sharing it with somebody, especially a friend, and that's just the beautiful love story behind the scenes with Shane and I, that he just wanted to allow me and create a place where I can inject what my story is and what it means to be disabled in today's society. So
Right, and like you said, he lives in a dope house with his best friend. They have a huge business, and he's disabled. Why not?
yeah,
Right.
Why
I
not?
and I feel like we've been saying Hollywood tropes a lot with this, but Steve and I talk about this as just saying it as the power of stories within the media that has been written by the media that our community has accepted as their truths and really are so far from it. And so it takes movies like this and more and more and more media things like this so that we are able to rewrite those stories, because for so long I've been disabled since I was diagnosed at an early age of 9 years old. So I've been disabled for quite some time. And up until a couple years ago, those Hollywood tropes were my stories. I believe those is true, Danielle, for my whole entire life. I thought I was not worthy of love. I thought I was going to be a challenge in a relationship. I thought I'd have to get lucky to find that perfect individual who would just see me. And it was a long shot. That was my truth. Like, that was my reality. But, like, when you actually do that investigation in your gut and you're feeling, you're like, something doesn't feel right here. And it
Mm.
doesn't feel right because it's not our fucking story. It's media story that has been written for generations and generations about us, not with us. And they don't even know anything about what we deal with every single day. And that's the problem right now that's happening. We're seeing that, sorry to get real gnarly on you. Like, yeah, this is what's happening crazy right now in the last couple weeks, in our country. And we have these individuals that are just setting us back from all the progress that we've done in rewriting that stories and smashing those Hollywood tropes that aren't true, that they're trying to concretely make true again. And we as a community need to make sure that that doesn't happen. And if there's anything that can maybe spark or catalyst any of that, it's this movie that shows authentically really what it means to be disabled and what you deserve and that you matter and that love is quite powerful when you're disabled, and we are sexy and we are perfect and we can be with anybody and have any type of love that we really want. And the moment we make that our truth, I truly think anything's possible. I know anything's possible.
This is a perfect segue. This is a perfect segue because we're going right into the dating app plotline because I want to talk about the romance in this rom-com. So that's perfect. Yeah, both of you also are such great speakers. It's very fun, very motivational. It's nice to hear both of you. I've heard Steve go off in our last episode about healthcare for disabled people. We're talking about love. We're talking about a lot of good shit. So I want to know, like, okay, disabled visibility in modern dating, right? Like a lot of people meet on dating apps for better or worse. Like that's just like the technology that we have, and that becomes more and more typical for people. And I'm wondering if you can describe, like, how does Good Bad Things handle dating for disabled people differently from other media portrayals? And I think we kind of got into this a little bit, Danny, but like I also want to discuss this like key tension in the film around this, where Danny is questioning what to reveal about his disability in his dating profile. And like I want to get into all of that and that your experience there.
Oh man, dating apps suck. They suck so bad. Um, and but you live in today's world. You're single and you're seeking a partner or sexual desire or whatever. Like you have to be on the dating apps. And for disabled people, because of the media stories and Hollywood tropes, when we just are shown as a flat, still image on a screen, it really doesn't show truly who we really are. It takes us speaking and interacting and feeling who we really are. Um, but again, I don't think that it's a little bit more complex for disabled people. I think that's something we share with everybody, in all different types, and that we try to stand out or try to describe really who we are in this small little, window that this dating app allows us to do, and ultimately, it doesn't really portray us the best, and having to hide my my truest self because I'm scared of what it will potentially come across as is so harmful for us in so many ways. And then we also, based upon our success in that area of our life, with how many matches or likes we get, and that's like yeah, we're in a like society. So when you post something, how many people like it or comment is the same thing with dating apps. It doesn't matter if you're actually trying to match with that suitor or you're trying to get that many likes, but when you don't, you automatically chalk it up as you're being a failure at what you're
You're not enough,
trying to do.
or
You're not enough. And I honestly can't even dive into the algorithm side of the things and what these dating apps do. I can only say that, like, after a certain period of time, I believe that, like, the more swipe rights a person gets, the more visible their account is. So the less that a potential disabled one gets, the more hidden and buried they get. So then it just results in a very harmful cycle of what we are trying to break and stop from happening. So, um, yeah, it's just so complicated.
yeah. And how what about this first question of like how does Good Bad Things handle dating for disabled people differently than other media portrayals?
Shows the truest, like, shows the real interaction on our initial feelings on having to take that leap because it's a process. So like him, like, fighting to download the app to because he just doesn't feel like he's suited for it, then to do it and then crop himself out, to luckily enough finding a match, to then it just shows that, like, in the typical matching on a dating app for a disabled person isn't what we should just take as our own journey in a dating app. We have to write our own story on these things and create our own experiences. So how Danny, disempowerment wise, in the beginning crops himself out and fights it, but then leads later and been like, here's me, like, this feels like a good match, and I really don't want to maybe lose this person, so I just have to like be my fullest self and just take that leap is really important for
Be vulnerable.
yeah, it's very important for disabled people. You gotta just trust that you are beautiful, you are sexy, and that you are perfect. And if the person doesn't see that, then that's their loss. And so Danny does do that leap, and then him doing the rebranding for Ruby, the dating app, I think was a really cool lens to just showing what how dating apps should like vocalize to their audiences, and that it's not just about a like society. It's not just about matching and looking pretty on a flat still image, but that like you gotta just it's like as if they are your best friend, that they are helping you be your wingman or wingwoman or whatever you want during that time. And when it doesn't work out, it's okay. Just keep going because that's what dating used to be like. You know, when you go to the bar and you didn't really go solo. You always had your companion. They always kind of like pushed you and picked you up and had you keep trying. Like dating apps don't do that. They just shoot you down and you're like bummed.
Mm-hmm.
No, like, hey, don't worry about it. Like, you're getting lights, no one's responding, you got this. Like, you need that. We deal with a mental health crisis in this world, and like to not have that best friend energy or that person just to like want to keep you trying, is really not is toxic to the fullest level.
Let's talk about lube and condoms. Something important to know is that oil-based lube is not to be used with condoms because the oil can cause the condom to break or tear, which would defeat the purpose of using it. Thank goodness for Uberlube. Uberlube is latex compatible, so it's safe and effective to use with condoms. But wait, there's more. Dispensing 2 drops of Uberlube inside a condom and a measured pump outside will increase pleasure. What are you waiting for? Use code SEXEDWITHDB for 10% off at uberlube.com. When you think about the words pleasure and power, what comes to mind? If you're a fan, you know my answer will always be the magic wand. But what if I told you the magic wand could fit in the palm of your hand? Say hello to the Magic Wand Micro. The Magic Wand Micro may make you wonder how it can possibly represent a brand renowned for power. But once you turn it on, this impossibly powerful, multi-function, multi-speed massager proves it's a magic wand through and through. Same magic, now in pocket size. Use code SEXEDWITHDB at Lion's Den for 15% off your Magic Wand Micro now. Are you falling into a pattern with your partner? Looking to change things up but aren't sure how? Me and my partner exit our ordinary with Lion's Den. Lion's Den has hundreds of your favorite brands to help you and your partner reconnect or try something new. From novices to dungeon masters, there are products for every comfort level. With 50 plus years in business, Lion's Den is here to help. Can't make it to a local store? Shop online and chat with a customer service team member while you shop. Lion's Den offers our listeners 15% off in-store and online using code SEXEDWITHDB at lionsden.com. Okay, we're kind of at the end of our time here, but I just want to say, yeah, like, I love this film. I think like this film kind of proves that audiences are hungry for more diverse rom-coms, and I'm really happy that you all are doing that. And I think Steve, you kind of mentioned this word a few times, but I think we need more authentic storytelling. We need more disabled filmmakers behind the camera, in the writing room, on screen, right? Like executive producing. We need rom-coms that normalize disabled characters in all types of love stories. And I'm wondering, like, before I let you guys go, I want to know what is next for Good Bad Things. You know, it just was released recently, and I want to know, like, where can audiences watch it, and what do you both hope that audiences take away from this film?
I love this last question. The movie is available for rental and purchase on literally every platform. Main ones off the top of my head would be Apple, Amazon, Fandango, YouTube, Google Play, and hopefully eventually a nice streamer very, very soon. Because that's where we ultimately always want our product to be. To share this, but Steve and I are in this like beautiful place with this film. We've had so many additions to this film that help get us through stage after stage after stage. Now we're on the biggest stage, which is finally the movie will be available to the whole entire United States. And we have a vision to where we see this film, Steve and I and Shane. But we ultimately know that there's no way to get there and allow this film to have the impact that we know it can have without the help of everyone, especially us in our disabled community, our allies, our symbol holders like yourself, in getting us there. And so we've just been reaching out in a very authentic way to all the biggest voices, all the most powerful, beautiful people that have built their platforms. And we all are striving for the same goal, the same purpose that we all have, which is we all want to make change happen now. We're all not happy with the current status on how society and media views us. And we want to rewrite our own story on what it means to be disabled.
I feel very lucky to know you both and to have you here. Like I said, love this film. There's so many fantastic parts to it. It is original. It is funny. It is unique. It is very well acted. Like, kudos to you, Danny, as a first time actor. Like, very, very cool that you put yourself in this role. And yeah, I'm thrilled. So everyone go ahead and rent or buy the film, Good Bad Things. And before I let you guys go, we have next week's trivia teaser for next week's rom-com. Next week, we're talking about a film that launched an entire comedy empire that almost got scrapped after test audiences called it too mean, until one simple change saved the entire movie. So if you know what you think that is, it's very vague. Feel free to DM us on Instagram. And if you have a rom-com that you remember from growing up, submit it to us by leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, leaving us a comment on Spotify. Steve and Danny, thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Our creator, host, and executive producer is me, Danielle Bezalel, aka DB. Our producer is Sadie Leegee. Our communications lead is Catherine Cohen. Our music theme is by Hook Sounds. Thanks so much to our featured guests, partners, and listeners. If you have a rom-com you remember from growing up and want us to cover it on Rom-Com Vom, submit it to us by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and leaving a comment on Spotify. Want to partner with us? Email us at sexedwithDB@gmail.com. For more sex ed content, follow us on Instagram @sexedwithdbpodcast. See you next time.